Earthlings and Earthlings. This is Kontact Pluto. I'm Kontact The Capricorn, and this is Pluto The Scorpio. We are coming to you, well, I would say live, but we're never really live. Live for us, raw. Raw is the term, right? Raw. It'll be raw, uncut, and there's a lot of things that are like that. Anyways, as always, we're coming at you from the Kontact Pluto headquarters in the currently springy East Coast. Yeah, it's
currently,
yeah, it's getting nicer. I heard it was going to be 11 this year. Sometime this week, but yeah, I think that'd be nice. I had somebody was telling me, he's like, yo man, like, yeah, this weekend it's supposed to be 8 degrees, but we're getting rain and snow. I was like, bro, what the fuck are you talking about? We get snow? Like, it's 8 degrees, man. And you know how snow works? Like, I thought it was kind of funny, but anyways, that was that. I was like, okay, well, whatever. All I heard was 8 degrees. It's raining.
But it has to be like 0 degrees to snow, right?
Well, exactly, yeah. Like 0 or like under, like in the negatives. Cause
no, usually it can't be cold to snow.
Really? Yeah. I know. I've been out like fucking cold and it's been snowing. I know. I've heard this said, but like I've been out and it's like I'll read the radar on the car and shit. And I'll say,
I ain't no meteorologist.
Because of the wind, eh? Like the wind can fucking make it more negative.
Yeah.
Then technically, maybe it's only 0. Anyways, that's not what our podcast is about. So we'll get on to what it is about. In tonight's episode, we're going to be talking about whether or not you can truly read people. Now, a lot of things Jules and I have studied, they have sort of psychological elements to them, and these elements can be applied to reading people. Now, not everybody wants to read people, I guess. I mean, some people, it is a priority for them to, like, read a person as accurately as they can. I find that something fun to do sometimes.
Yeah, well, definitely people in positions of power or, like, managers and bosses, they have to learn how to read people because they're always over top of people and controlling people in their business.
Exactly, yeah. The better you know somebody, the better you can make the flow of whatever you've got going on.
Definitely.
So we're going to try and answer whether or not you can truly read somebody, because this is always kind of a question. I mean a lot of shitbags are like, they think that they can read people, and, you know, they tell me what their read on people is. I'm like, I don't know, bro.
By shitbags, do you mean like psychics?
Well, those fall under some of the categories. I mean, psychics is a different type of reading, right? Because the psychics are like reading into your past lives, into your future. Yeah. So there is kind of 2 types of reading, right? Yeah. There's the future and the past lives, but for the CEOs, it's probably more so like here and now, right?
Yeah, because like you have a whole bunch of money invested in a business. You have to like make sure people are doing what you want them to do.
Exactly. Yeah. Can you trust that person to accomplish that task? Or
when it comes to like the psychic, there, obviously we all have very intuitive abilities, and we can hone into these psychic abilities. But what I'm talking about is obviously the famed psychics out there, you know what I mean? The ones that make a living off of like predicting someone's future. Yeah,
well, see, that's true. I mean, I think we'll kind of begin about the reading more so in like the CEO sense, but we could get into some of the psychic stuff after, because
that'd be cool.
I've had some cool experiences with those. So we'll just for the reading people, you want to know just somebody you meet on the street. Are they a piece of shit? Are they trustworthy? There's a lot of things, a lot of reading that gets done just automatically. Most people just do it like, can this person be trusted? Can this person not be trusted? Yeah. Like, are they a threat or are they not a threat? Mm-hmm. That's a very, like, almost caveman sense. So we're going to get a little deeper than that. That's just something that occurs naturally. But you can, if you want to say that your body is, or anybody is always reading everybody, on some level or not. So if you want to, train this skill and make it more useful, I think the 2 main things to be wary of are desire and blind spots. Now, desire, you can see it played out in a pretty cliche way. Like I've met enough people who've been absolutely in love with, their girlfriend, boyfriend, and then their girlfriend, boyfriend's just kind of a piece of shit. So that right there is their reading of that person is distorted. They head over heels with these people, and this, I think it happens often enough when you're young, too. Like, I know when I was young, the way I loved, I just loved every single bitch I met.
Yeah, man, you just tunnel vision, you just want to put all your energy towards that, and nothing else really matters.
Well, I'm talking more so of, like, how I thought they were. Like, I just thought they were, like, perfect in every which way, and, like, anything that they did that it was always in hindsight where I kind of realized who they truly were. So
you're talking. Like, this is actually a mix between the first one and desire, because you have blind spots because of desire.
Yeah, like, see, I split them apart because blind spots can be like not because of desire. Because blind spots can be like somebody. They've misinterpreted something. So like a skill set, I think, like earlier I used the example of lying. So a lot of people think to be a liar is a bad thing, but you know, liars get a lot done in this world. You look at politicians, you look at there's a number of like positions that just lying gets shit done. And sometimes it's a useful task to have. You know, I think there's enough people that just kind of want to hear what they want to hear. So if you just serve them up a plate of their favorite dish, be it a lie, you know, they're going to be on your side, and if you need them on your side to do whatever, I don't know what you need them to do, but, you know, they'd be on your side at that point, rather than if you're just bluntly truthful to them. So I think, too, the best liars always know the truth. That's another kind of cliche, because the more you can kind of understand what somebody's really about, then you can feed them the lies that they like, and, you know, really get them down in there. So that's why I kind of say the blind spot.
It's pretty cool, because I heard, like, I can't remember the exact quote, but a famous philosopher said something similar to that, like, the best liars know what the hell's up. They know the truth. They know the truth because they know how to bend it, right?
Exactly.
Once you get to that point of knowing whatever you're doing, you know how to weasel your way through things.
Well, there's that, and like the best lies are the ones that are completely believable because they sound like truth, right? So you know, you can just, if somebody's a piece of shit and you say, oh yeah, like I heard that kid or that guy fucking, you know, I don't know, raped somebody. Like, this is obviously a drastic one, but like you can, you know, anybody who's kind of, say you get an old man who's creepy, and then somebody says, yeah, like he raped 12 kids. You know, it's easy for people to get on board with that because they're like, oh yeah, he's fucking creepy, you know. Man didn't rape no fucking 12 kids, but since he's creepy, you know, and that's kind of how that would play out. Because you sort of get the idea. You gotta get the consensus of how people view that person as well. So that's another really useful thing in terms of reading, is like understanding how somebody else would perceive what that person's doing. So then you could, if you wanted to like play a lie on that, that'd be really cool. But to bring this back to the blind spot, a lot of people think lying's a bad thing, but and this would be their blind spot. So, you know, they would see a liar, and if they were able to spot a liar, they'd be like, you know, that person's a piece of shit, not really realizing that, excuse me, they could, you know, develop that skill set themselves and use it to get things that they want as well. So that's just one, but I think blind spots often tie into connotation, how you think something is perceived, because a lot of people will take something that's negative and they'll be like, okay, I'm not fucking touching that, right? Like, and I think, well, like, political correctness is a pretty easy one to, like, draw this line. People are thinking, like, oh, you know, you can't call people fags, you can't call people retards and shit. And they're just thinking that because they
liberal shit going on.
Well, like, they think that somebody else is going to get pissed at them for, like, calling them a fag.
Yeah.
I mean, the situations are obviously, to me, pretty obviously, like, if there's a gay person, like, don't call them a fag in a hateful way.
No.
But, like, if you meet some, like, broy hipster who's just trying to suck your dick, there's no problem saying that guy's just a fucking fag or a retard, you know? Like, that just fits. So the whole political correctness is really it's a weird one. You know, I don't know. I've never really met one in the flesh, too.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like they're with the liberals, like they're maybe figments a bit.
Yeah.
So, but that kind of ties into the blind spot concept. And then I think, I've touched enough on the love concept, too. Like, desire plays out a lot in love. Desire also can play out, too. I'm just thinking of people who are, like, really, like, think that they're ambitious, and they're just, like, trying to do all these different avenues and trying to figure something out. You know, if you try anything if you try any variety of things, like you try 60 different ones of them, one of them's going to pop for you. But then you get these, like, hustlers, they're like, yeah, you know, like, it was my drive and my determination. It's like, you were kind of a retard through the first, like, 55 that didn't work, and then 56 worked, but you still tried, like, 20 after that, and then you realized 56 was working, so you just went back to that. So, like, you just got it by luck. But then, you know, sometimes, this is a cliche of an archetype or whatever.
Yeah.
But those two things definitely play on your clarity of being able to read somebody. So I think you had some cool things too about the.
Well, like, just in general, like how you would approach to go read someone. You want to be aware of yourself, right?
Yeah,
that's the very first thing, and like we kind of talked about that before, but just being self-aware and knowing what cues of yourself play into observing someone else. Because if you can't know what you're thinking what things are going on behind the scenes of your own mentality, how you're going to figure out someone else.
Well, because like your scope, you can only fit your scope on them. So like if you think all these things are bad and these things are good, and it's a pretty basic thing, you know, like a Christian or something, thinking like this is a sin, this isn't, and then you go to like see what somebody else is doing. Obviously, they just fall under your category of like sin or like good or whatever. So that makes a pretty good point. I think that kind of ties in a bit with blind spots as well, right? Like, because if you aren't aware enough of yourself to notice your blind spots, then you can't see. Well, you can't see past those fuckers. Yeah, that's just
so that. I feel like that's the start there. Then you kind of go into like the small details to figure out if you actually want to learn how to read someone. Yeah. So I had started with where's their attention in general. So like when you're in front of someone and you're basically observing how they're moving in life. Yeah. Where their attention is,
like moving in life, or like how they're moving there, like where they're
body language, all those types of things that are just happening on the surface level, right?
So like what they're doing.
And like I said before, most of our expressions happen in the face. Yeah, that was we're either making gestures or changing a tone of voice, we're changing the words we use, the direction of our body, where we're facing, you know. Yeah, these are all little small details that kind of like even play a part. I'm going to use the word subconscious. They play a part in our subconscious brain when it comes to like patterns.
Like you mean and like this is what I want to get at. Like it catches in there, right? Like if you see somebody sort of shifting their eyes around, like sometimes you'll just be like, "Okay, what the fuck is that about?" Like it won't register right away what it is, but you're like, "Okay, something's off," because like this person's not doing the right thing or doing a normal thing or whatever. Yeah. So that is kind of cool. What'd they say? Like 80 to 90% of it's in your face.
Yeah, 80 to 90% of your emotions happen in your face, gesturally, and the rest is body language. So that's only like 10% out of most emotions.
Well, in terms of like the body language, I think you would say 90% of body language or 80% of body language is through the face. Yeah. And then the other 20 is like however they're standing.
Because people think body language, they think of their whole body. And it's true. That's definitely plays a big role. But you tell a lot about people through their face. And the old cliche with the eyes, too, eye contact is a huge thing.
Yeah, it's probably the most. Eyes are the window to your soul.
That's exactly what I was going to say, yes.
Yeah, no, that's true. Because you can tell a lot of people just like, you know, rolling downtown, man. You look at somebody's eyes, you don't even need to talk to them, motherfucker. If their eyes, I mean, it's if they're drunk, they're drunk, but like.
You know when someone's fucked up, when their eyes are like twitching out here and there.
True.
Or when you see a girl that's attractive and she maintains eye contact a little longer than you, or she like cuts away, then comes back.
It keeps checking you out.
Just keeps checking you out. Yeah. Or then you get the fucking douchebag that kind of like stares you down, you know, just like looking for a fucking fight.
Yeah. Fuck that guy. Yeah. No, that's true. So yeah, because the eyes just speak. Like, because I always hear that shit about, you know, the body language is, because I guess the original one I heard was like body language is 75% of the game. I think I was trying to give you an example. Like if I see something and I try and describe it to you with just body language, like that kind of debunks body language, right? Because like if I'm trying to tell you the color of my new car, right? Yeah. And it's nowhere to be seen.
In analytical things, but if you're telling a story, that's when things start to change because you start using your articulation to like. Raise certain points, and that's where tone comes in.
Body language only speaks in emotion. Like, it doesn't really speak in intelligence. Yes. In a sense.
Yes.
Like, you're...
I see what you mean by that, but I would definitely agree on that.
Because you can kind of just, like, if somebody's obviously ecstatic and they're talking with their hands and shit, like, then you're like, okay, this person, like, really likes the story, but they could be talking to you about, like, cooking fucking supper last night, and you'd be like... That guy's kind of retarded if he's that stoked about cooking beans.
Like, man, I was cooking all these beans, putting it in my chili, you know, stirring it up all day. You know, it's so fucking amazing, you know.
Well, exactly.
Very expressive with your hands. And a lot of people don't even realize they're doing that. Like, especially for me, because I'm Italian, you know. Like, I just, next thing I know, I'm like, when they're like possessed.
Yeah, they're just going.
They're just going. Like, holy shit.
Well, it does get like that. I mean, because I won't even notice either too if my hands start going. Because this is, I think this is where they play the subconscious thing, right? Like I always have a bone to pick with the subconscious thing because I'm like, there's nothing that passes through your consciousness that you can't be conscious of if you chose to be conscious of it. Yeah. So like, I don't really think that unconscious exists or a subconscious. Like the subconscious implies like it happens sort of automatically. Yeah. And then the unconscious, it's more like It's just you can never tap into it. I absolutely hate that because like, what's the point of that? Like, it's almost like it wouldn't even exist. I know, like, if you have an unconscious but you can never like tap into it, is it even a part of you? Like, what is it like?
We talked about this before, and the whole unconscious, subconscious thing are very like autopilot modes for the body.
Well, I would say the subconscious is. I say the unconscious is just a figment that Freud made up. Like, I don't think that actually exists. Is it Freud or Jung?
It was Freud.
Freud made it up. Yeah, because this, like, we can get into that in a little bit, but just in terms of the subconscious thing with the body language, it's like with the hands going, right? It's not like you're actually focusing on making your hands make gestures.
No, it's like as you're talking, speaking, it's just like it's coming out. It's just like it's almost like a visual action that shows how you're expressing yourself.
Yeah, because you're not thinking to like, oh, I'm going to use my hands to like show a stirring motion of the pot to help him understand how I was stirring a pot. It's just like, man, I was fucking stirring that thing and like, fuck, I was getting into it, throwing all this shit in there. And like, you know, it doesn't, you're not even thinking like, oh, I got to do this to do that to make him think that or whatever. So I think subconscious kind of fits for that, but they should just said automatic, like some, I don't know, like,
an automatic process.
Yeah, because I always get buggered about these terms, and I get buggered about a lot of terms because I feel like they're too, you know, you hear something, like say the average Joe Blow hears unconscious, he's going to stop and like try and figure that out, where if like unconscious doesn't exist, so if I was like, oh yeah, unconscious is just that shit that Freud said that exists but doesn't fucking exist, he might get it better, like, okay, so if unconscious is something that somebody said existed then doesn't fucking exist, that sounds like a waste of my time. Keep going. And at least I'd be like, yeah, it is a waste of time. But no, with the subconscious thing, you could just be like, yo, it's just your automatic actions. Yeah. They don't require thought, but it's not like you couldn't think of them if you didn't want to, sort of thing.
Yeah, and this is something we agree on, me and you, is that the whole point of understanding consciousness is to get rid of the subconscious and to become more self-aware.
Yeah, true. I remember you saying that way. Like the more self-aware you were, the smaller your subconscious got.
Yes.
Because that made sense to me. Because I broke it down like this last time. I thought subconscious was like a sub-department. Yeah. It was like a place you went into your brain to do different tasks, and then you came out to do like all your main shit.
Yeah.
But then I'd heard somewhere where it's like subpar, like it's like a lesser conscious.
I remember you mentioning this.
If you see somebody who's just kind of, you know, retarded, you're like, well, that person is subconscious. You could say it that way, I guess, but either way, it seems like something that as you grow just disappears. You know, the more you learn, if you learn too. This is the other thing. I mean, we might have touched on this before.
Yes,
about
I'm pretty sure we had talked about. I'm not 100% sure that we talked about this specific thing.
Yeah.
But the whole point of removing the subconscious is what happens during meditation, is to get more self-aware and being here and now. And we've talked about this numerous times already.
Because you're just like, you're sitting down, you're doing nothing, so it's not like there's anything for your subconscious.
And that increases your self-awareness.
Okay, so like that part of your brain that runs automatic things, it then brings its attention to the like normal thing that holds all the attention.
Exactly.
And then, it kind of grows.
So that's a very useful tool when it comes to meditation, obviously.
Yeah, that's a cool way to put it too. We might have mentioned that, but I don't think I've thought about it that way. That's pretty interesting.
That's the whole thing with the superconscious mind, is how to like go beyond those transitory things now. So you're pushing the borders of your own self-awareness, and then you become connected to everything else, or you push out how you view the world to the levels of the whole world, basically, or the other things. You know what I mean by that?
That sounds a little vague to me. I gotta bring two things into this, because is the superconscious, is it just the notion of like alleviating all your, because if we take the subconscious could be kind of a bigger thing that's running all these automatic things. So if you then don't do anything that requires the subconscious, like you're not talking to somebody, moving your hands, you're just basically, meditation is you being silent somewhere, you know, any type of position you want to sit in, but you can fucking lay down if you want, I guess. But so the subconscious then is not having to focus on running these things while you're running other things. Yeah. So then it becomes part of your normal conscious, and that thus, like, your normal conscious is bigger than it normally is. So is the superconscious just that, of making your normal conscious bigger, or is it the idea of accessing realms like contacting aliens? Like where like, because I've not really heard too much of this
we talked
term.
about, just before we get back to the superconscious.
Okay.
I want to talk about the subconscious and the unconscious.
Yeah.
I feel like the subconscious are things you actually have control over, and you can remove those. Those are like the pre-programmed things that you're doing. You don't even realize you're doing.
Because like if you're like kind of, I don't know, you feel a type of way about talking with your hands, like maybe it's embarrassing for you a little bit. Really, anything that you're embarrassed about that just happens like naturally, you can then try and toe that back with your will, right? So then you can eliminate those from the subconscious. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Okay. And then
then the unconscious is all those processes that happen in your body that you have no aware of, like your hair growing and your nails growing.
You putting that in the unconscious?
I'm putting that in the unconscious.
Is that how they put it though? Because I always thought the unconscious, and see, I read a little bit about it once. I was like, this is fucking bullshit. I read nothing about it. So
the unconscious would determine what is, I shouldn't say determine, but would tell you what is not being conscious. It's not conscious, therefore it's unconscious.
Well, then it's like something that doesn't even exist. Like if it's unconscious. Well, this is the thing. Okay,
that's why it's still categorized as that.
Well, I want to ask you a question about this, because in the terms of how I read unconscious, it was a part of your consciousness that you couldn't access. Like it just said you couldn't, and that's literally all I read, because at that point I was like, that's fucking garbage. You can be conscious about anything you want to be if you really try. Some people don't try, and that's fine. But if you want to, you can get to it. So therefore, there's nothing that's unconscious. This is how I interpret it.
I definitely agree with that. I'm not saying these things are not unattainable.
Well, then the thing, like, can you really focus on feeling your hair grow or your nails grow? Do you feel like that's something you can tune into?
I mean, I have never done that, but I've definitely seen people, like I said, I always mention Wim Hof doing things like that, because he's really going deep into his body, understanding how to access these different organs and different things to heal his body. Obviously, he's pushing the borders of what we have determined as the unconscious.
Well, he's pushing the borders
what Freud
of, like,
has determined
how
as
you can sense in your body, right?
Yes.
Like
but that's what I mean. If consciousness is that, it's pushing outwards what we have described as the unconscious, which could eventually disappear altogether.
Okay, well,
Does that make sense? Is that a good analogy for that?
I think we're hitting a bit of a snag, at least in my brain, because, okay, for me, consciousness would be basically your mind's awareness. So that's kind of how I describe it. When you say you're pushing out things, I'm kind of getting lost a little bit, like, because if you say the superconscious and then it's like part of the unconscious, and in the unconscious that's where your hair grows and your nails grow. Well, if you tap into the unconscious and you can like tune in on actually feeling and hearing your nails grow, like that could be a possibility. I don't really see a point to it, but I kind of see how you're doing the parallel with Wim Hof, because what he did, and we mentioned this in another episode, they injected the motherfucker with E. coli. All right, they took fucking E. coli in blood, fucking boom, put it in him. E. coli is supposed to make you sick. Most people fucking know this. I shouldn't have to explain this, but in case you live under a rock,
and he's just like, boom. This shit's not going to affect me at all.
Yeah, he didn't get fucking sick at all. He didn't let like none of that shit affect his body. No symptoms. So then the question is, and we got to answer this, because I just assumed that what he did, and I had to theorize, obviously, because I don't really know no other man who's done this. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, dude probably fucking like sensed where the E. coli was, and as I'm saying this, I'm realizing this is making no fucking sense, because the E. coli would hit the fucking bloodstream and just go everywhere, right? Because I was thinking, like, I broke a collarbone once, and when I focus on the like spot it seemed like it healed a bit quicker. But with him,
I don't know the whole deeds and how he was able to not be affected by the E. coli.
What I'm asking you is, like, how do you imagine it? Like, when you heard that, how was there a theory that came to mind?
A couple things happened when I thought about that. But the first thing that happened is, like, I went into what he was doing to move that and to affect that in his body, and he always talks about the breathing. So maybe when he was getting injected with this E. coli, he was just like breathing and then noticing that those areas where the E. coli would go in, he would maybe move it elsewhere in the body and not allow it to affect him.
Okay, so it's kind of making sense because I sort of thought like he was able to pinpoint where the E.
And
coli...
these doctors were obviously like flabbergasted at this point because they never seen anyone do that before.
Well, wouldn't you think those motherfuckers, to get that shit they stick on your head, right? And they see all your neurons firing?
Yes.
Couldn't they just stick that shit all over his fucking body and then
I'm pretty sure they did. I'm not sure.
Well, I think they did too because I saw a picture of motherfucker up in the bed and he was just fucking stuck to shit with all those things. So
one real cool thing that he did after that, it was like... The doctors thought, oh, he's the Iceman. He can do what the hell he wants. He can go swimming under like ice caps and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But he was like, no, I'm actually going to teach like 50 people how to do this.
Yeah.
So these 50 students of his actually went into the hospital and did the exact same procedure he did.
They all got fucking E. coli
and they all
got
E. coli injected into them.
And they won.
And they won. They fucking won. Damn. So it just goes to show you that these things are actually accessible inside of our brain.
See, I didn't never like disagree with it. I'm still gonna ask you the question.
No, I'm just excited because that's amazing stuff.
Well, I didn't know about the 50 cats that did that. Yeah. So that's like, if they were thinking Wim Hof was just a feat of nature, well, 50 other motherfuckers doing that.
That's exactly what they were thinking.
So like what you guys say, doctors, fuck doctors, man. Anyways, fuck scientists too. Then while we're at it. No, so how do you think he did that? Like, I'm just theorizing in terms of a process. Like, I imagine he would somehow kind of focus his energy on something. Like, if you fucking just, like, put your finger somewhere and just sort of, like, try and feel your finger on that as much as you can. Yeah. I'm sort of thinking it's kind of like that. I don't know, but, like, in terms of theorizing thing, and then we're trying to tie this in with the superconscious too, because to me, I'm like, okay, is the superconscious becoming aware with the body, or is the superconscious becoming aware with other bodies in terms of like galactic bodies and aliens and shit?
I think that's the whole. Like, it's almost like that as a verb. It could constantly keep moving forward. I know the actual superconscious term is not a Freudian term. That came after Freud.
No, it sounds like some fag fucking just made that up in his basement.
But like I said, I think it's more of a verb or an action because that...
Verb or an action?
Because you mean like by your conscious mind expanding outwards to a certain degree that it becomes superconscious.
Yeah, but then, okay, so see, what I got to picture when you're saying this is like... Say you're in a room talking to somebody, and then you're just, I don't know, this would for me only happen if that person was boring the shit out of me, and like I'd just be like, yeah, and they'd be telling a story, and like they don't really care if I'm responding. Then are you kind of saying the superconscious would be me in this bored state listening to this retard talk about soup or something, and then I start like looking around the room and like, just noticing what other people are doing. Are you kind of saying superconscious works in that sense? Like you're giving this guy just a little bit
I think I know conscious. what you're talking about there.
Well, this is what I imagine.
It's just being like hyper aware.
But
pushing the borders of your own self-awareness.
Yeah, but what are you becoming aware of at that point? That's what I'm trying to get. Like we can say these words, but if you're pushing your awareness, it's got to hit somewhere and then be aware of something.
Just imagine like the idea of you sitting in a room and then you sitting there. Just regular conscious is you in the room with the sound of the room and then your own thoughts. Yeah. Then to push outwards into the state of superconscious would be you're aware of yourself on the planet and connected with everything else that's happening and hearing
well, that's a bit what I'm kind of saying. Like, you think the point of it... Because to me, it's always like, what is the point of this? Like, I don't care about the fucking definition or, like, weird practices. It's like... What does this do? Like, is this practical or not practical? Because, like, if this is just some hippy-dippy shit, like, fuck off. But if you can do something cool with it, I want to know. And if that cool thing is cool enough to me, then I want to go try it. So when I hear this superconscious thing, I'm like, maybe you could fucking talk to aliens. I'm wondering if that's what they're implying.
I watched a movie on this one time, on the superconscious.
Well, like, did they say you could? Or did they say you couldn't? Because you
just want to know about the aliens.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it sounds to me like they didn't say shit.
I mean, there's definitely been occurrences of people talking to aliens. If that's a product of superconscious behavior, then I definitely would put that in that category.
For the most part, I'm thinking like superconscious is just like unconscious is basically a figment because, like, no offense, but you've described to me what seems to be out there, and from what I've heard from what's out there, it seems like nobody knows what the fuck super consciousness is. It's just like, oh yeah, like it's almost like a dream. They're telling us about a dream they had, yet they're trying to tell it. I should
probably say this more simply. It's beyond our capabilities at the moment, as far as we know.
Well, then that's like fucking everything, bro, right? Because like
that's exactly it. That's exactly how they described it. So I don't. It's not very good term for that, but that's what they're using.
So superconscious is a word for not knowing what you don't know.
Yeah.
In a way, but then see that's also
or achieving feats that are beyond what's recognizable now. Like the movie I watched, they're talking about like accessing like 100% of your brain, right? That's pretty much what they're talking. No, it was like a documentary. Yeah, funny.
Yeah, no,
there's a documentary explaining on how to achieve the state of mind, and they gave a couple examples of people like what they say to have achieved this.
Yeah,
like this one woman like picked up a car because her baby was like about to be run over, and the car was like
you hear that like superhuman strength that just
happens. It just happens like that. Okay. Apparently that's part of the superconscious mind.
So then they're like yeah, no, it feels like what they did is they made up this term, and then they're like, okay, let's look for shit to like make this term legit. And they're like, oh, like woman picks up car off dying baby, like super conscious. Like I feel like
but you understand why they would label that, right?
We didn't really need this term, right? It's like they're just putting trash in the fucking air now because you get people like I can just picture like weird fucking hippies.
You're not wrong, but these things are hard to define. That's what I'm getting at.
Well, yeah, those things are like those superconscious doesn't really help in determining like how that came to be. Not at all. Because, right, like, they probably measured out, like, okay, adrenaline kicked in, and, like, obviously her strength was, triple-fold, 10 times, whatever she had as a normal person. So there's a lot of things that they, if they had the opportunity to map it out while it was happening, like, they could map it out and say, like, okay, I'm assuming adrenaline's part of it, and there's gonna be other factors, but, like, some dude who's like, oh, I think this is super conscious, like, that guy's got to get the fuck out of here right now, right? Because he's not even bringing anything that's useful to the table. He's trying to, like, further his agenda of, like, this figment that he wants to exist. And, like, what I'm thinking, too, is, like, just imagine going to a music festival, right? You see some fucking drugged-up hippie, like, talking about fucking super conscious. This is what I picture every time I'm hearing this word, because I feel like, Jesus, this is like something that's just going to send people into the abyss.
According to this definition that we're talking about, you would even put the state of genius in the state of superconscious.
No, I wouldn't put shit in the state of superconscious because I don't think
in the way they're describing it.
No, I wouldn't because see, I
know you're not describing it that way.
No,
like the way we are saying that they're describing it right now.
Like, well, this is the thing, because if I was to think superconscious exists, I can't do it, because I know this is just some fucking nerd somewhere who did something that's really just unhelpful in terms of figuring out stuff. So I'm like, okay, I don't even want to give this man no air, but we're already on it. So if I were to fucking categorize stuff in the superconscious, I'd say, like, genius would be superconscious. Like Tesla. I always think of Tesla and everything. When people are like, oh, yeah, this can't be done, I'm like, Tesla, bro. And this may not mean much to most, but it's like Tesla did things that were so fucking brilliant that if you think, like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of how people would say stuff, but when people say, like, oh, you can't do that, I'm like, well, fuck, Tesla could probably do it. Anyways, that's more of a joke than a reality, but...
One more thing I want to say about the superconscious thing.
Yeah.
If there was a word or a way you would describe how it would be to increase consciousness, what would you describe that as, and how would it look?
Yeah, okay. Well, it would, to me, be the process of just going through yourself. Now, that sounds too vague, but if you have anything that you notice that you're embarrassed about, like, say there's types of ways that you are around people, and you're, like, after the whatever situation goes down, and you reflect on it, and you're like, fuck, I didn't handle that good. Like, I wish I could have handled that differently. Yeah. Go deeper into that. Think of, like, why did I say those words that way? Like, why did so a lot of people think about feelings. I'm usually like, fuck, I did something stupid. Like, hey, why did I do this stupid thing? Where have I heard this stupid thing before? And then I, like, track back as far as I can. Or it's just pretty blatant, like, okay, that thing was stupid and dumb as fuck. I'm not doing that again. And if I ever get into a situation where I can, like, sense that it's coming on, I'm like, nope, bro, like.
So just being hyper aware of your behavior, basically.
Well, I guess so. That'd be the way to do it, because if you want to become clear on yourself, and the clarity, if we track this back to reading, obviously the clearer you are in yourself, or the more that you understand as a potential, a human nature. Like, I think about, say somebody is, like, really fucking offended about somebody who does drugs, or, like, there's we'll go with this. So, bitch be all fucking concerned, like, people who do drugs are gross, right? So everybody should be seen who does drugs, they're gross. But then we go check, like, I don't know if Tesla did fucking about shrooms or something. Well, we can go with Steve Jobs, okay? So Steve Jobs, I heard this funny quote once. You might have heard this
with
as well.
With the acid.
Yeah, like he was in a meeting with, you know, a bunch of other business dickweeds, and they were like saying different shit. And this one guy says just some outlandishly stupid shit, and Steve Jobs looks at him and says like, bro, you never fucking did acid before, did you? And the guy's like, you know, he didn't. But this is... tie this back to the bitch who's like all fucking, you know, picky and shitty about doing drugs. She can't see that there is a potential for some good. Now, obviously, not everybody who does drugs is Steve Jobs, so she's not completely wrong in her views, but she's not 1,000,000% right. And she's holding it as if she's 1,000,000% right. So what she needs to do is come to the understanding that, yeah, there's a lot of junkies, and junkies are bad, but then there's also people who have done drugs that have made them you know, a little more brilliant than they were currently. So that thing is not, you know, drugs isn't completely bad, and it's not completely good either. So this is what I'm kind of saying. With her perspective, it's being that it's only one way, she needs to shift that so that she can see both sides of it, and then she'll be better at coping at life. And you need to apply this to like almost anything that you think is purely negative. See the positive in it. And then also, this is the trickier one. Anything that you think is positive, see the negative in it. Because this is where I feel most people don't even grasp things. Like, I always go back to the lying thing. A lot of people think lies are negative, but, you know, I've gotten through a lot of like shitty situations just by lying my ways out of it. And it's been for the greater good, because if I didn't lie, like, man would just be pissed off that I did this fucking thing that is going to be completely irrelevant to him the next day. So it's like, okay, do I want to let him like fucking blow up the spot, you know, blow up the night in like a 20-minute bitch fest at me because I was like, oh yeah, that was me who did that fucked up shit, or I tell him I know who did that fucked up shit, or do I just say, bro, I don't fucking know, like, I think it was that guy, and then pawn it off on that guy. I keep having a bump at night, that guy goes and fucking just is a piece of shit to somebody else, and, you know, doesn't ruin my shit. So lying can work out in good ways. I mean, obviously, you don't want to lie to everybody. It's just situational. Cops and parents and dickweeds.
I know what you're talking about here, but I think it still comes down to like just being hyper aware. And that's what you're trying to achieve
in terms of a super consciousness thing. Yeah. See, but then this is like, we just worded it, right? Yeah. We just said hyper aware. Yeah. The man's like adding a new word for something he can't prove exists. And now you're going to get other people reading this word thinking that it does exist. Or accessing
100% of your brain power, as they would say. And I don't even know if that's even a true thing. Like are we using 100% of our brain power? No one really even fucking knows. Like, I heard multiple things from doctors. I heard that it's impossible. You would never even want to use 100% of your brain power. Yeah. Or that you actually are using your whole brain all the time. Like, there's so much misinformation, and we don't know how the brain works.
Well, this is why I'm so pissed off at this word, because this superconscious, it's presented as like a scientific term. You know, it's not
superconscious.
I mean, it sounds pretty fucking ludicrous, and just like that, you know, if you saw the
just fucking, super in general is just very.
Well, that's what it is, man. Because you can picture some fucking shitbag hippie going like, "Oh, it's super conscious, bro," and you just, you know, you're like, "Okay, man, you smell like a bag of dicks, and like, I don't even know where the fuck you're from, but you're fuck boss, like you're drooling, like you're not making no sense." But then this guy's saying superconscious, and this is not really fair. But the thing is, superconscious, once you put that notion out there, you know, people aren't responsible enough, especially people who are inventors. They're not responsible enough with the ideas that they put out there. This guy's not really an inventor, because all he invented was a fucking a decoy, right? So he's essentially just a piece of shit at this point. But really, you gotta have a lot of responsibility when you're theorizing and you're hypothesizing. You gotta know that, okay, what name I'm giving to something that I'm not sure completely exists, like, fucking keep that shit under wraps until you have full proof. But see, scientists, they're not that responsible, right? They just they get an idea that they think is plausible. They'll do like one fucking experiment that kind of proves it, and then boom, we've got this new fucking facet of human nature that's like all the rage. And then fucking, what is it, like 40 years later, nobody remembers the term. It was a waste of that guy's time, waste of our time. Yeah. I feel like superconscious is going to be one of these things that every time
once we learn to define the things that are happening, and
say it again.
Once we learn to define the things that are happening, that are pushing those borders, instead of just putting all under the same category as superconscious, then that's when things will get better.
You mean like learning what is going on with a woman who like lifts up the car? Like
Yes.
once we map that out.
Yes.
So like super conscious is kind of like just the lazy man's way of saying like, I don't know what that fucking is. It's probably super conscious.
Yeah, that's what I mean by all those types of things, all those like feats that are pushing the consciousness beyond.
No, I get you. So it's kind of, do you kind of agree that it's like a waste of time term, or do you think it's like useful to have?
It's useful in a sense because you know the degree of how the magnitude of how potent that shit is.
Well, no, you still know that without having this term, right? Because, I mean, if you see women's, like, pick up the car off her baby, you're like, okay, that's fucked. But you don't need to have the word super conscious.
No, but it's still there, and you still know what it means. That's the whole use for it.
It wasn't necessarily invented when the first time that happened, right?
No.
Like, this word definitely could have been
for
invented.
me specifically, when I hear someone say super conscious, I know what they're talking about. Though I know it's very vague, but I know it's something beyond that.
See, I can't picture any situation where I see a person use the word super conscious and they make sense after they've said that word. Like, I don't foresee.
Well, you're gonna have to watch that movie because they have numerous examples of what pushes those. I feel like you could have like
told me one that like makes perfect sense, right? Because everything that you've told me, I could have worded in another way.
A lot of them in that movie talk about like strength too. There's another guy who was in the mountains and he had a boulder drop on his leg and it was like 2,000 pound boulder and
he lifted it
right off.
Yeah, well, see, all these things is like we didn't need that term super conscious to explain any of these, right? Because they already existed. And so it's theorizing, and it's basically the proof of its existence.
I'm kind of curious now, just before we wrap up that super conscious tangent. I just want to see the internet's definition of super conscious.
What you should check as well, see if you can bring up the guy who invented it and give me a man's address. I'll fucking pay him a visit. Fuck that guy, man. I can't foresee anyway. And like, since all the things that you've told me are basically
it's exactly what I just told you, or results higher consciousness, right? Transcending human or normal consciousness.
Well, like, see, it's a waste, man. Because you could just say like, I was on shrooms, got real high, went to different dimensions, or you could say, my fucking baby was stuck under the car. I fucking didn't know what to do, and by some fucking feat of nature, I lifted the car off her. See, I just think that super conscious without fucking proof, like a clear cut definition of what it is. This is just like a synonym, and I hate fucking synonyms, man. If you can say things like one way, just say it that way. Because if you get too many words to word the same thing like some way, especially when it gets to scientific shit, it gets too confusing.
More better of a definition. The superconscious mind encompasses a level of awareness that sees both material reality and also the energy and consciousness behind that reality.
See, that's Tesla, bro. That's because you remember they said Tesla saw the fucking invisible orbs in the air and shit. Yeah. So then that's psychic.
Me too, man. When I did cold medicine,
you saw like specific orbs in the air and shit.
Yeah, this is a fucked up story.
Yeah, let's go to it. Yeah, I don't want to talk about superconscious stuff.
I was sick one night, cold, really bad cold. My mom's like, hey, try some of this cold medicine. I'm like, all right. She's like, last time I took it, I was flying around my room. I'm like, what do you mean you're flying around your room?
What kind of cold medicine is this, bitch?
I'm like, what kind of medicine is this, Mom?
Shrooms? Yeah, like, what the fuck? Anyways, so.
But, so I'm on my couch. I took this medicine about 10 minutes before.
What the fuck was it called?
It was like...
Was there even a label on the bottle?
It was like a cold and sinus type thing, but it was like extra strength.
Was it that one that's pink and blue?
I can't remember, man. This was a couple years ago what the label looked like. But I remember sitting on my couch, and next thing I know, I'm just like, what the hell is going on? And then I seen this like white orb kind of thing. It was almost like a what do you call those things?
Like an orb?
Well, obviously an orb, but like it was a geometrical orb. And it busted through my front window of my house, and it's in my living room, like spinning, and it's growing, and I'm getting so scared, like, what the fuck is this? And I started getting all this anxiety, like, as if it was gonna like break the house.
Like
expand so much. And I'm like, holy shit, Mom, there's an orb in here, this ball. I'm like, what? She's like, what the hell? She's laughing her head off. I'm just like, thanks.
Little did you know it was ecstasy.
She spiked me.
Yeah.
But I was fucked up, man. And then eventually, like 20 minutes later, it finally stopped.
Did your cold go away too?
Unfortunately, no. But yeah, I just tripped the fuck out. It's like my mom gave me like 10-minute fucking acid or something.
Yeah, some fucking quick hit shit. Jesus, man.
Yeah.
Well, that's doesn't sound quite like cold medicine I've taken before.
Yeah.
So, yeah. What and then so like, do you feel like maybe that was super consciousness fucking medicine?
I call that tripping out on fucking cold medicine. That's it.
See, you don't use the term super conscious.
No.
I hope I see a day where somebody, not you, like somebody comes up to me and starts talking to me about super consciousness.
Yeah.
Fucking. You know what I always wish is that you could joust people. Like back in the day where you just, you know, you got on a horse and you're like, you know what, I don't fucking like you, man. Let's joust. Whoever wins, wins. And
imagine being super conscious about jousting.
no, I fucking
just take a joust and just like
off.
fucking through it somewhere and just like stab someone right in the fucking chest.
That'd be
like
cool.
Not even looking, like a boom.
Well, that'd be like motherfucker off the
fuck
Umbrella
is that?
Academy, right? Slinging the knives around the fucking corners and shit. Yeah. Well, I don't want to murder the man. I want something that's like fucking on par. Cause,
oh, you just want to like just jab him in the knees.
Well,
you know,
because like nowadays you
fall
fucking
down.
you know, you slap somebody in the face for being an idiot, you get charged. Yeah. This is what I don't want. I want some like fucking some sort of physical like altercation where it's just like no fucking consequences other than like whoever wins is the winner. We crave
that shit. We crave like just movement and.
No. I'm talking about beating up idiots. I don't think everybody craves this, man, because some people aren't like that pissed off about idiots. I get real pissed off about idiots.
I get pissed off most days.
Well, I'm not saying that people don't get pissed off, and like
I think it's even in our DNA, man, to like compete constantly.
Well, like
whether you want to get to the level of actually beating someone up, that's kind of up to you. But I think we all have that drive to want to beat someone.
What I think it would do, it would lay down the fucking ground rules of people to just stop being fucking retards. Because if you're like running around saying some stupid shit and you knew every time you walked out your door you would get beat up if you said stupid stuff, there'd be so few people saying stupid stuff. Imagine, man. You'd like all these fucking super consciousness theories, any like bag of shit theories, they'd be fucking donezo because people be like, I'm not fucking saying that shit, man. It doesn't even exist. There's no proof. And if I get caught saying that, I might get my ass kicked, man. And then, I just beat up a lot of people.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
So, you think when, let's talk about, how we perceive auras and stuff like that. I think that's a pretty cool part.
Get into the psychics a little bit?
Yeah, get into the psychic stuff, vibes. Like definitely people give you vibes. We were talking about that earlier, but like
I don't feel like vibes is a psychic thing, man. Like vibes is kind of
I would put vibe in the same category as like feeling someone's energy.
Well, like
that's exuding out of their body.
To me, vibes is pretty fucking. It's clear cut. Like if somebody comes over and they're fucking creepy, like it's because that person's like weird upstairs. All right. So then their vibe is creepiness, but you don't need to be a psychic. Like, let's kind of talk about things that's
more like your intuition, right?
Psychics can do it. Well, see, that's just the kind of reading people, man. Because like when people give you a bad feeling, like everybody can recognize that bad feeling, you know. So some people call it vibes, but it's just like some people say, man, I know like the feeling I got from that guy. So like these aren't so much psychic things. I wouldn't like. Let's talk about like psychics. Let's talk about what they allegedly can do that not just the everyday person can do. Like seeing an aura and shit. Like I can't fucking see an aura, but like I've met a few people who could. Yeah. And then, but that's like a rare thing because everybody can feel a vibe. So like do you want to talk? I don't want to talk about vibes. Do you want to talk about vibes?
I think I'm just gonna tie it in real quick.
So you want to talk about vibes?
Just for a sec, because vibe is short for vibrations, right? And that being said, everything is a vibration. Everything is energy wave, right? So technically, your aura is a vibration. It's an energy wave. That's what they mean by vibes. They just short it out.
Well, then, so then you want to say that people who are seeing auras they're seeing vibes and colors?
They're seeing vibrations, of the colors,
Yeah. Okay. So, well, let's just focus on that because then it's like, okay, what if a fucking... And I don't think this applies, man, because check. I know some bitch who fucking was able to see auras, right? And she was telling me about some dude who was just kind of a piece of shit, but she said he had a golden aura. Now, golden aura is like one of the like supreme fucking colors in the aura game, right?
Yeah.
But then she was telling me about... this doesn't matter. So what I'm trying to say is like, okay, man who's creepy, it's not guaranteed that he has the same color aura as everybody who's creepy. is what I'm kind of saying. So then in terms of your vibe thing, that doesn't quite correlate, because if, you know, a creepy vibe is a creepy vibe. It can be an old man, it can be fucking, I was about to say some kid's name, it can be that shitbag that I know.
Well, like, but, depending on what you find creepy too, right?
No. I'm talking, no, let's not do this, because I hate playing the fucking interpretation game with you, dude. Like, this, I hate playing the interpretation game with anybody. I shouldn't say that to you just specifically, but, like, people who want to just say shit's subjective, I get so fucking mad at that shit, man, because, like, when I'm talking creepy, like, just creepy, all right? Like, I get that some people, because this doesn't really work, right? Okay, if a pedophile comes over and he creeps most people out, but then for you, like, not for you, but, like, for somebody, they're, like, not creeped out by the pedophile, that person's also probably a pedophile, right? Yeah. Like, this is... So, creepiness is pretty, like, it's not just what's creepy to you. It's, like, creepy's creepy, bro. Like, you know...
Majority of the time, and I definitely would agree on that.
Explain to me a situation where something's creepy to just you and not to everybody else.
There's this guy that I used to work with. That used to work for me, sorry.
Yeah.
And he had, like, this, like, serial killer type vibe to his face.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, this guy is fucking weird. And I never really... I got along with him, and we had cool conversations, but I could never get over... I couldn't even look at him just because he had this, like, shitty serial looking face. And then there's a girl that works at my work that says she loves that shit. I'm just like, what? You like to fuck serial killers? And she's like, yeah.
Well, that's not fair. So one skank doesn't make, like... Did you talk to other people who, like...
Everyone says the same thing. They're just like, that guy just looks so serious, you just can't have a conversation with him.
See, well, that's the thing. That's what I'm saying. So, like, a skank wanting to fuck a serial killer doesn't mean that creepy is not creepy. Like, creepy is creepy. If
but that just shows you the interpretation of creepy.
No, but see, this is an
that changes the way you're looking at it, even though it's still creepy. I get it. I get what you're saying.
Shit for me, see, and the interpretation thing too is just. And I bring this up because remember I was like, okay, interpretation is what people do who can't think.
Yeah.
And this is truly what I think. Okay, so if you can't fucking think, interpretation is like an automatic thing. And if you're trying to say like, oh well, if this girl wants to fuck this serial killer, like, she wants to fuck a serial killer. It's not like, oh, she can fucking see past something that everybody else can't get past. It's not like, okay, he's suddenly not creepy because she wants to fuck him. She has some sort of fetish, all right? So that's that. It doesn't change creepy. Like, creepy is creepy. Creepy's not really interpretational. What you might want to do with creepy, that can fucking switch, all right? Most people want to run from creepy. This girl apparently wants to run to creepy. So, like, I can get on board with that. But in saying that creepy is interpretational, I can't get on board with that because creepy is creepy. It's just like, maybe he looked like a serial killer. I always think of, like, a pedophile, you know? Like, I met some old men that just, like, saying shit that I'm like, bro, you're fucked. And then... You know, I look at other people. I don't always ask other people, like, you know, did you think he was fucked? But, like, I can just look at another person and see how they kind of
I know what you mean. I'm not degrading the level of creepiness. I'm saying like the way the way people are viewing the creepiness is interpretable.
See, and
that's what I mean. I see it one way and she's seeing it a different way. It doesn't change
it's
the level of creepiness from the dude in general from most people's eyes. But that's the interpretable.
Like, I don't get why so much you consider that because, like, that bitch is obviously, like, weird in some ways too. Like, I guarantee you, if you go fucking hang out for a couple hours with that girl,
I'm not.
Okay, so then this is the same thing.
I'm not disregarding that by any means.
So this is like this, man. You fucking a pedophile. Everybody finds a pedophile off-putting, and then there's one person who doesn't find a pedophile off-putting. Yeah, they're probably a pedophile too. So it's not like there's no room for this like interpretational thing because this bitch who wants a fucking serial killer, she's probably a serial killer low key too. Yeah. So it's like attracts like, all right? So I don't know how you could do this in comparison to animals, but like if a fucking tiger comes up to all these apes and they're like, okay, like fuck that, like that guy's a tiger, you know, like getting a vibe of a tiger from him. And then this other tiger's like, I don't get a tiger vibe from this tiger, but the tiger's a tiger. Like, because they're the same type, it's like they're not going to get a vibe. It doesn't change. Like, interpretation has no room here. Like, you could, if you want to, be like, no, man, I thought he was cool. And, you know, like, somebody who's saying that is lying, all right? That person who's saying that wants to be seen as some sort of unique, forward-thinking, like, fucking douchebag, right? So the interpretation thing, it doesn't actually exist because for most people, they feel like creepy dude's creepy. And for the people who don't feel like creepy dude's creepy, they're creepy. So creepy's just fucking creepy across the board. The interpretation shit, you still think that plays out, I can't really fucking see how that. For me, it does.
Are you gonna put interpretation within the same category as perspective? Would you say that's kind of two of the similar words?
Oh, absolutely. Anything that somebody thinks that like, oh, I can just think that it's this way and then it's this way. Fuck that person. Fuck that thing too, because things are things. This is. Yeah, I'm putting it pretty fucking simple.
No,
but like,
I know what you mean, but I definitely still disagree with that, man. I still feel like they're very interchangeable. But in the eye of the beholder, that's why you get a lot of this like stuff.
But this is why you have so many idiots, right? Because like the smarter you get, the more obvious things are.
Yeah.
So things are just that. Like if you want to, in this, I feel like interpretation is just the.
But it even comes down to like music, man. Like. You listen to a song, and I'll like the song, and you won't like the song, and vice versa. Yeah, that's interpretation.
It is interpretation,
and that can be put out through anywhere in life. Really,
it's a little more difficult, right? Because art is art. All right, a person being a serial killer and having killed people and giving off a vibe that is very distinctly like motherfuckers bodied fucking humans. That's not the same way as art. Like art, if you fucking say if you don't like a certain color, like I get that, and like I'm not completely saying that interpretation doesn't exist, but I'm saying first of all, it's a fucking pull. Like it's fucking worth. Like if somebody fucking thinks something's nice that most people think is fucking shitty, that person can go fuck off. It's okay for them to think that, but like there's usually something behind the person that fucking fucks with the average. Yeah. That's weird. So it's not interpretation. Like you can just say that's their free will or like their perspective. That's cool. But if they're doing that, all right, they're not the same. So there's something else. Like
there's definitely a degree of when you look at something. I definitely agree when you're saying when something's creepy or when someone's a certain way. Most people will see it that way because that's the way we've categorized things.
What I'm saying is it's not up for interpretation. Like if you want to come over and say like, oh, I like it, it means that you're probably like it. So then there's no interpretation there. It's like creepy is creepy. And then if somebody doesn't find creepy, they're probably creepy. So then the interpretation doesn't come into place.
Probably. So it's not 100% either. And that's what I mean by there's varying degrees.
Give me some weird situation where somebody can find creepy sexy and not be creepy themselves.
All right. What if you do one thing that's creepy and majority of the other things you do are not creepy?
But see, we're talking about vibes. We're not talking about single actions that you do. We're talking about the whole vibe of a person. So like
but then you're starting to generalize after that.
No, I'm starting to be very specific because what you're saying is like, okay, you did one creepy thing. Well, the creepy thing that you did, that's like, it doesn't mean that you'll give off a creepy vibe. Well,
but you could have from someone.
No, see, in this, like, I don't know where that happens in your reality. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, say somebody, what I don't understand is like people with foot fetishes, all right? But people with foot fetishes do exist. Now, if some bitch wanted to just like lick in between my toes, I would kind of be like, I'm not really fucking down with this. I know. Yeah. So that creepy is not the word I'd use to use that. But since I don't find it like sexually appealing, then it's sort of like weird for me. So we could just say weird, all right?
Yeah.
But that woman, like, if she wants to do that, all right, you're not necessarily going to get a weird vibe from her right away. Yeah. In order for a person to give off a creepy vibe, they need to be doing multiple creepy things to give off a creepy vibe. Somebody who's just done one creepy thing one time, or there's this one creepy thing that he likes and he just does on his own, that's not a guarantee of giving off a creepy vibe. I think if you can really read somebody, you might be able to tell, there's something buried in the
And this is what I mean by your generalization towards these things, because it's very situational. If some guy goes into the store and he made someone feel creepy, but he's usually not that creepy, that she will always see that dude as creepy dude. And that's why it's interpretable, and that's why there's varying degrees to that.
That situation occurs, dude. How did that situation occur? She just found him creepy because he walked in the liquor store and it was only one time he got found creepy? How does it occur? What did he do to make her feel creepy? So then
does it really matter?
Yeah, because
she felt creeped out.
Bitch is dumb, all right, and bitch is dumb and thinks he's creepy for some
but
fucking fictitious reason.
Disguise the creepy as anything else, but creepy.
This is what I would like to say. People who interpret things and then think that their interpretations are valid are usually stupid, because their interpretations are just interpretations, and they don't understand that It's just that. It's just the way that they felt that time. So if they just have that anomaly experience, but then think that that's the general fucking consensus of what they experience, they're too blind to see that theirs is just the anomaly and not the general consensus. So therefore, that throws interpretation out the window.
Not at all.
Well, it completely does, man. Because if it's just that one person saying that one thing about that one time, and you can't understand that.
What if two of them were there and they're just like, well, that was a creepy situation?
Well, this is the thing, dude. You gotta take that dude.
And that's what I mean by being situational.
No, see, this doesn't make man creepy. This is what I'm saying. Like, a creepy man's creepy, all right? Creepy. He's just fucking creepy. He can't really get
But if he left that liquor store, in their eyes, he is now that creepy dude.
Well, what you got to do when you theorize this is theorize this going through thousands of people, all right? So I get it, the two bitches in the liquor store can have that experience.
Yeah.
But then you got to compare the truth is what the average feels. And this is not true truth. We can get fucking way tangent in a different direction. But in terms of interpretation, those two bitches interpret him as creepy, all right? We go back through man's like fucking last 5 years on Earth.
Yeah.
Talk to his friends, his family, and see what they feel about this guy.
Yeah.
Talk about just people that he's known. If they all say he's creepy, like in a general average, then it's just those bitches were right. Then it doesn't even become interpretation, right? Because
I think I see the disconnect here because I'm not saying he is a creepy dude. I said what he did in the situation was creepy, and if they never see that dude again, they're obviously gonna automatically assume every time they see that dude he's creepy. Because of the post-traumatic things that happened. And those create patterns inside your brain.
No, because look,
especially when those things happen.
I've met people that I didn't like right away. Mm-hmm. And then I've gotten to know them. And actually, no, this never happened. I've never really met somebody that I did like off the bat. When I don't like them, I usually just don't like them for the whole time. I've been in situations where what I read from the beginning on that person, I know it's true to me, but I know a wide variety of people can't see it. So I just have to wait for that person to like basically show their hand. So I know that they're like a ticking time bomb. I'm kind of got like the foresight almost in the sense of like, okay, this guy's a fucking weirdo and he's gonna do some fucked up shit because he's not on the level. Now, I can't explain it to everybody around my group because they didn't pick up on that. So in that situation, it's not really interpretational. I understand it as foresight.
But this is also just implying to you, though. You can't really say that towards anyone else because this is your perspective. And that's what I mean. This is your interpretation in a funny way.
Well, see, interpretation means that it could not be true. That's why I don't fucking agree with interpretation, because interpretation allows it to be, it's like something that could be personal truth. I'm never down with any type of thing like this. So interpretation, it allows the rooms for too many lies, but it allows lies and truth to be held in the same balance, because you can say like, oh, well, that's just how you interpret it. So if like I say something sucks, right? And then it sucks, but then somebody else goes and they're like, oh man, I fucking loved it. All right. Yeah. Well, if you went and looked at the person who loved it and what they loved about it, you would have to decipher, fuck. And I don't know if I can explain this, because if something sucks, it sucks. And if somebody else watches it, like, for example, the video, right? I was bummed about that shit. And I was like, okay, bro, this fucking sucked. And then you're like, well, dude, I got to watch it because I feel like it's just the way you're interpreting it. I was like, okay, if you watch it and you don't think that it sucks, then the issue is not whether I'm being honest on whether it sucks. The issue is like, what is going on in that person's brain, or like what was going on in your brain that made it good. See, like the problem switches. So you got to decipher a different aspect of it. And interpretation, it's just so fucking gray. Like I get into so many situations where people use the word interpretation. They're like, okay, well, it's just your interpretations. And it's like they devalue your input by saying it's your interpretation.
I get that,
It never really gets used in a helpful context. So to me, I just scrap interpretation across the board. I never use it. I think of stuff too, like I think stuff goes on intelligence. Like the more intelligent you get, the more you can appreciate certain things. That's a fictitious example. It's okay. In music, all right, if music's interpretable, I kind of get that, like, because there's certain instruments I don't like the sound of. So if I hear that a music or like a piece of music with that instrument, I'm not going to like the sound of it. Like a bagpipe, that's a pretty weird thing, and that kind of falls into interpretation. But I feel like art is safe for interpretation. When it comes to humans and you interpreting a human's vibe, that's where it gets pretty fucking, like, I don't know about interpretation, man, because if fucking 100 people think that guy's creepy, and then just 4 or 5 people don't think he's creepy, those people are probably creepy as well. I don't really foresee a circumstance where one of those 4 people is not creepy. Like, if there's somehow that one of these people is not a creep
but that's not throwing interpretable behavior out the window. You're just saying that people can be creepy that like other people. That could be mean all these people that see that dude as creepy could have varying degrees on how creepy they see that dude. Some people might be more forgiving. Some people might be more
but then that's not
attacking.
That's not interpretation. That's something completely else. That's like your degree of understanding. That's how you, because some people, right, they see the creepy guy and they're like, fuck, that guy's probably like murdered somebody. But then there could be some, like a psychologist could see the creepy guy.
I see what's going on here.
And then the creepy guy, they could be like, okay, that guy's creepy. Like, I wonder, what his parents were like. I wonder, like, what he did. So, like, those levels, I feel like what you're saying interpretation is. And that's, what are you seeing?
No, I'm looking for the old little flag, the word Nazi here. Now I'm realizing that it's because we're taking the word, this is the same thing that happened earlier with the superconscious.
Yeah.
We take the word interpretable and then we use it in so many ways that it's not actually making sense in some people's brains as far as how it's defined. I feel like it's a lot shorter avenue than, because there's other words that you can use.
Are you saying right now that I've confused the definition of it and that you're using it in a different definition?
I think I'm using it in a way that's a little more broader than what you're thinking it's being used. And I use it in a way that most people use it, funny enough.
Okay, well, fucking break it down for me.
Because like, when I mentioned the whole, like, how someone can look creepy, if someone's looking really creepy and there's all these people think that all those people think he's looking creepy, and there's varying degrees of how someone's looking creepy. You're saying that's not interpretable. That's just the way you're perceiving it, or that's the way you're
basing it off your experience. Like, you're basing it off whatever, like I'm saying with the psychologist.
But that's the action of people what they think is something that's interpretable. When you interpretable is something is the way you access the information. So is the way you retain information. It's how you interpret it, right?
How you think about it. Like, your thought process is your thought process. Now, your thought process can be very, like, differing.
Yes.
And I get that can differ, but I never use the word interpretation in that, because your thought process is either logical or it's illogical. It's either intelligent or it's fucking stupid. So somebody who just gets the creepy vibe, because a dumb person can get a fucking creepy vibe from a creepy guy, and a smart person can get a creepy vibe from a creepy guy. So the dumb person is like, oh, he's creepy, like he probably fucking murdered somebody, like some fucking, childish thing. Whereas somebody who's intelligent, they'd be like, fuck, that guy's creepy, like, and they would start to wonder what he's done. They could be curious. They'd be like, what the hell did he do? Why did he turn out that way? And like, you get to start, as much as your awareness obviously allows you to fucking foresee the avenues of how that came to be. But that to me is not interpretation, because you're not interpreting something at that point. You're like, it's creepy. That's not interpreting. It's like, it's creepy, because it's not, interpret doesn't fucking fit there, because it's like, it's a taste, all right? I don't know, like.
No, I know exactly what you mean now. And I think there's a disconnect between what people think it means and what they're saying that happens.
Tell me what
the definition.
No, tell me the disconnect that you're seeing. Yeah.
When you look at a situation, the way you're looking at it is the way you're retaining the information.
When I look at a situation, the way I'm looking at it is the way I'm retaining the information.
Yes, and that is the word. Well, I try to remove the word interpret there. So the way you're looking at a situation is the action of you interpreting the situation, because you're constantly interpreting all the time.
See, I feel like you're almost at like a lack of words. Like, there's such a better way to describe whatever the hell you're trying to describe.
That's exactly what I was. That was my whole point to that. That was the way I just described. That was the whole point of me trying to describe that. Is that we always use the word interpret.
Yeah.
Where it doesn't need to be used.
So then what is this, like, what's the fucking mathematics that made this even to occur, right? Like,
right, because that's why I brought this up here.
But you chose to use that word, and there's a better way to, like, word that shit then, right? Because you don't even mean interpret then. Is that
the way you're deciphering the information coming through your visual cues going into your brain?
But then that like dismisses definition, right? Because words have definitions and words mean these things. I get slang can be fucking, you take something and you use it out of context, but the context in which words are used, that's what they mean. I feel like people who are too dumb to understand definitions, that's where they can just say, oh, well, it's interpretable. What they're really saying when it's interpretable is like, I'm too stupid to actually understand it, but I want my thoughts on this to be just as worthy as somebody else's thoughts. That doesn't exist. If you didn't do the work to fucking develop something that's worth hearing and worthwhile, your shit is not worthwhile and it's not worth hearing. It doesn't mean you fucking should go die, but like, check. You know, if you didn't put the work into it, you don't really deserve to be held on the same bar as somebody who put the work into it. So then when somebody's saying like, oh, well, it's all interpretation, that person leave the room right now, because like, we're like, men are talking, or like, you know, we're having a serious talk, be serious women too, whatever with the sexist, fuck that shit, but you know, like, whatever, that gets to where interpretation is too, because bitches be fucking all pissed, you say a word one way and it's like this shit, and it's like, I didn't fucking mean it that way. If you took it that way, you're retarded, and you're retarded because you're thinking that you can interpret something in a different way than it was actually said. And interpretation to me is like somebody who can't understand intention. If you don't understand the intention of my words, the way that I'm using them, you're not very good at understanding all the information that's coming across in this situation. So you're gonna say like, oh, that's too interpretable, but
that's deciphering the situation, right? That's basically what's happening there.
I don't get what you're saying right now. Like, you deciphering the situation.
The act of you...
No. I see what you're saying. Okay, deciphering the situation, no, bro. Because the smarter you get, the more you can understand what's actually going on. And you can hit truths. Like, you understand what the fuck's going on. Yeah. It's not a mystery of like, oh, I wonder why they're that way. It's like, okay, I know what fucking produces that type of behavior. So you're not deciphering at that point. You fucking know what's going on. So we got to disconnect on this, because some people know and some people do decipher. People who do decipher and do interpret, they are of a lesser caliber of mental capabilities. It's something maybe they could develop, but if you have to decipher and interpret, you're probably not that good at doing fucking jack shit, because you don't just know. Sometimes you just know things. Not even sometimes. The more you know, the more you know. The more you fucking get into situations. So you don't really... to decipher... Okay, is there another part to this?
There's one more thing here, and I have a cool lead way to get into something else. Okay. But the point I wanted to make here was, here's the definition of interpret. Because I'm sure you already know what that is, somewhat.
Yeah.
But what they give is 3 different definitions. They say, understand an action, mood, or behaving of a way as having a particular meaning or significance.
Well, then that's not even interpretation, man. That's just saying you know. Because if you say this again...
Understand an action, mood, or way of behaving as having a particular meaning of significance.
So you understand that has a particular, meaning a specific. Yeah. So you can't use the word... you can't use the word specific in interpretation, because interpretation is the whole thing of debunking specifics. It's saying like, oh, that's not specific. It's what I want it to be.
Then the phrase they give with that was her self-confidence was often interpreted as brashness.
Okay, we get into a situation like this, all right? This is how this goes, man. If a cunt's a cunt is a cunt. Some people who get pissed off, and this is I can use this with ego. I think that ego was a word invented by fucking sour people who couldn't get what they wanted. And they saw somebody who was getting what they wanted, and they fucking were just inventing insults. So this her being brash, it's like these fucking weaker people are trying to insult her because she's making them feel insecure. She's basically a mirror to be like, yo, look, you can be fucking successful. I'm successful. You're not successful. These people are pissed off. They're saying it's brashness or self-confidence. I mean, confidence is not guaranteed that you're going to get success or whatever, but you kind of see the parallel I'm going with this. Like, ego is the same way. Ego, people say, oh, he's egotistical. That's always used in the context of like, oh, that guy's like shitty. The only times I've ever heard egotistical used, it's like somebody who's doing something that the person who's using the word egotistical wants to do but can't do, and so it's like some sort of backhanded fucking, it's like they want a sophisticated insult, but they're basically a piece of shit because they're using a fucking figment term, and they're also not doing what they want to be doing, and they're pissed off that guy's doing what they want to be doing, and they call him egotistical. Yeah, obviously it's gonna fit for fucking girls are fucking, well, I guess not chimps, but yeah. Pimps.
I definitely agree on, like, the more intelligent you get in life, the more that this interpreting happens less. Because it almost says, I understand what you mean by it being, it could mean a lie, because it could not be mean the truth.
There's so much room for mistake in interpretation. If you look at a situation and you interpret something, it doesn't mean that you're getting the truth of that situation. So if you're looking at a situation, you're getting the truth out of it, you're not interpreting it because you understand all the factors that went in and led to that situation becoming. It's like math. I find a lot of things are like math. The more you understand equations, and I'm not even talking no numbers. I know you're not. I know you know I'm not talking no numbers, but shit is like math. Any type of situation, you fucking see who's there, see what they've done in the past, you can understand why they're there. So the more you know, obviously, the more you can make sense of any equations. And then interpretation is almost like trying to say, well, since I got fucking 4, okay, if I say I got 4 for 2 plus 2, interpretation is some bitch saying she got 3 for that equation and trying to tell me that 3 is just as valid because mine's just an interpretation. This is where I don't see, interpretation to me is always, I don't know, I've never heard it used fucking properly. I've never heard it used logically.
I've only heard it used properly like a couple times in the sense that would make sense to you is, let's just say someone was speaking to you in a language you didn't know. Yeah. Then you would have a translator interpret what they're saying.
Yeah.
Into a different language.
That's fitting because shit's getting lost in translation. There's some words that they fucking don't have in English.
You really didn't even need to use the word interpret. You just like, this person's translating what they're saying.
Exactly. So fuck that word, man. Fuck that word. Fuck super conscious as a word. Fuck. I hate some words.
Pulls up his own flag. That's good. Man. Well, since we're on the wavelength of interpret, let's see how that would play out in the real world when you go and try to figure out if you can read people's minds. So first of all, you would have to look at what they're doing, and then you bring in the information. Yeah. And that's triggering a process either from a pattern, from things that happened before, the way they're moving, the way they're sitting down, the way they're talking to you.
Well,
do you mean like reading mind in the sense of like before they say something, they're just blank-faced?
See, these are certain things because, okay, if mind reading is not absolutely literal, because I'm not sure that there's a process. Well, I can't even say this because I've had fucking situations where I've heard exactly what somebody's thinking without them fucking verbalizing, and we've had basically telepathic conversations. So I guess that's telepathy. Now, in terms of mind reading, like there are situations where you're just talking and you kind of know how like words go. It's like, that's what, and then you could say, she said, you know, like that's not really mind reading. It's just you've heard that pattern happen enough times that you can predict what's going to go on. So that's more predictability. Then to mind read, I think what are we talking? If you're going to mind read somebody, it would be that you could tell what they're thinking without them telling you what they're thinking. So it would be kind of telepathy, but like a one-way telepathy. You'd be able to read their thoughts. They're not really reading your thoughts. Now, can that occur? Like I said, obviously, if you're the interpretation, you can't really interpret that. I mean, fuck, that's too sideways. I'm not even going that way. So what do you want to talk about? You want to talk about how psychics do things and like how they do that shit?
Well, like that's the thing. Like any kind of avenue there. Let's go psychics. Like So, for me, when you go to see a psychic and you sit down and they try to determine what is going to be into your future. They try to figure out like numerous things. I've never really actually seen a psychic. You have. Yeah. Give me some examples of what they told you.
Okay. Well, first off, I'm going to tell you a funny one because when I was out west, I always went to this fucking pub, and as I was going to this pub one night, I saw a fucking like a tarot card on this sign. I always thought it was like a house for sale sign.
Yeah.
And then I paid attention for a little bit more, and I was like, hey, damn, that's actually a fucking tarot card. Like, I'm gonna take a peek at that and see what the fuck that is. So I fucking take a look, and it's like, oh, like psychic reading, like fucking astrologer, blah blah blah. Basically, fucking psychic, general psychic. She did tarot cards. You know, tarot cards just a part of psychics. Yada yada yada. Anyways, I was like, that's fucking cool. So whatever. A couple days later, I went to go see, and she was closed. So the night that I saw it, she was closed as well. I'll probably tell you the story. Yeah. So about fucking third, fourth time I go there, it's like it's open time. Like it's fucking like 3 o'clock. Bitch saying she's like open fucking 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. I'm there on like a fucking Wednesday, 3 o'clock, and like I made the mistake enough times already going there past hours. So I'm like, I'm getting this bitch. I'm getting there. So I fucking go there, fucking ring the doorbell. She comes down. She's like, hey, like, can I help you? I'm like, yeah, like, I'm here to see a psychic. She's like, or first she's like, well, what do you want? I was like, well, I'm fucking here to see the psychic. And she's like, oh, we're not open. Anyways, I left. I guess I might set up to this room the joke, but I just thought the funny part was like, she's like, what do you want? Like, bitch, you're fucking psychic. Like, what you like, fucking
I'm at your business. Like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah, I'm not, like, you don't need to know exactly what I want, but clearly in this situation, I want to fucking talk to you. Like, do I look like a fucking Mormon? Like, I know I didn't look like a Mormon.
At this point, she's, like, doing the opposite of a psychic. She's acting like a goddamn retard because she has no clue why you're there.
Yeah, like, fucking use that intuition, bitch.
Isn't that ironic or what?
You don't even need psychic powers to fucking tell me what I'm doing on your doorstep. Like, yo, you're fucking psychic. I look like a hippie. Like, fuck you think I'm here for? Anyways, that was that. But so when I went into the psychic that I saw was pretty good. Now, I mean, I know enough of that kind of stuff to, you know, there's obviously a lot of charlatans. There's a lot of fucking shitty psychics. When I walked into this girl's room, she told me like 3-4 things right off the bat. Like, I didn't even say word one to the woman. She just fucking said this about this about that, this about that. I was like, okay, those are all on cue. Like she said, I see like a wizard above your head, and she's like, it has some like tarot cards, some like some numbers, and some zodiac signs. And I was like, you know, like that's stuff that I was doing at that point. But still, I was like, you know what? If she spoke to my mom, she could have known these things. Yeah. And then she said, she's like, the numerology. I'm like, yeah. She's like, you do it some way that people don't do at all. And I was like, okay. This girl knows, because there's no way that my mom didn't even know I was into numerology, and yeah, she didn't know that I had my own theories on this. So for me, that let me kind of trust her at the start. But I'm always fucking probing her as I was going through the whole thing. You know, I'm just asking her questions, kept asking her questions, and always like, just because she proved it that way, I was like, I'm not gonna fucking, you know, that she could have got lucky. You know, I was basically testing to see if she was lucky or she was legit the whole way through. So You can do that. I mean, anybody who goes to a psychic, obviously, there is some that are charlatans, and then there's some that are legit. So this is the thing. I mean, there's some people who think like psychics, just that shit doesn't even exist. Those people are idiots, because it does exist. Now, they're not completely unwarranted idiots, because there's a lot of shitty psychics. So the notion of psychics not existing, it's not a far leap, but you know, you haven't done your research if you think that's exactly it. You want to obviously try a few different psychics, I imagine. I got lucky, just there was a person that my mom knew and whatever, so we lucked out on that, and it was good. But if you're going to one, they're like fucking, you know, you think they're shit, I mean, just ask them questions. Obviously they'll be saying a lot of general shit. If they can't tell you specifics about fuck man, they just can't tell you specifics. They're fucking junk. They're just, everything's a generalization, like, oh, you feel this way about this thing and it might not be good. Like, you know, like, yeah, well, that fucking fits for any goddamn thing. Like, tell me. I asked the girl, like, who I was in a past life. I asked her about women at the time. I'd gone through a fucking pretty shitty breakup, like, prior to that. And that's kind of the reason I went to the psychic anyways, is to, like, I just wanted to, like, swear off women at that point. I was like, you know what, fuck this. You know. And I was just like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to go through this. Like, this is such a wreck on me. Like, I don't need this to happen again in my life. Like, I'm, you know, I love fucking gal, but if I can't fucking have, like, a wife or some shit, like, I'm down to just be fucking, I don't know, some mad scientist up in the hills all alone. Like, that doesn't seem unappealing to me. That's actually quite appealing. So, I've figured like I could probably live alone pretty easy. And I was thinking like maybe this whole fucking shitty breakup was a sign to just be alone and just work on my things, work on whatever I get going, certain theories and this. Anyways, she told me some shit about the girl that I was going to meet and changed my mind pretty quick. I heard these things. I'm like, well, okay, if you say that, then is she black? Yeah, and apparently she's not black, so I was a little pissed off. But anyways, we'll tie this more into the reading thing, because the reading that they do of a person is completely different than like the CEO or the reading that you and I are kind of discussing. Mm-hmm. Their shit goes into like your future lives and into your past lives. Now, when she was telling me some of her readings, it seemed like it was a vision that she was having, because the way she was talking, like I was asking her about past lives, and I was like, how did I come about to be here? And then she was saying it like, you came here. I don't really like sharing all this stuff, but like the way that she said this was like she was looking at something, almost as if she was like looking into a movie screen that she didn't, she wasn't playing. So she kind of had to like just say what was going on with like no real clue of what it meant. Because there were very specific times where she told me things that she saw, she says, I don't know what it means. But I knew exactly what the fuck it meant, because, I knew why I was asking that question. I knew what the answer, would pertain to. So I was able to fucking connect the dots. And so it was like that. But what I will say, just the method that they use to read seems like they're getting some sort of visuals in with them. And I've heard that sometimes some of them hear a voice. So that's another way that it can go. Like, we kind of mentioned through the 5 senses or whatever, there's like clairvoyant, there's clairaudible, there's people who can just hold things and like get flashbacks. They call, I forget what the fuck they call it. There's some weird name for that, but there's different types of psychics. But either way, everything seems like it's a transmission from another fucking place. So to develop that, you either got that shit or you ain't got that shit. I mean, you can develop psychic skills to a little bit. I've always told you I find like tone of voice is an easy one for me. Like if I listen to somebody's tone, I can tell more about them than like looking at their facial features or shit like this. Like I listen to their tone. I don't know. A lot of information comes to me through just the tone of the voice. So sometimes I don't even look at people when I'm talking to them. It's just something that happens. But especially like if it's a new person, I'll just listen to their tone of voice. And I don't know, as you get older, you get naturally better at reading people, because you've seen so many things come and go the same way. You've seen people fall into cliches and pitfalls, and it's
you pick up a lot of patterns throughout your life, and exactly when people fall into a certain way, like you're saying with tonality, when they start going to a specific way of describing something, you already know where they're going with it. Yeah, it's like you're almost making like these predictions basically, and then after a while, you're going to get them right and more right. And next thing you know, like, you can just...
Well, just you've seen it so many times 2 or 3 words, exactly. Way, right? And you're like, okay, I know where this is going just because I've fucking seen this before 1,000 times.
I'm definitely into that category myself. I'm really good at predicting actions. When someone does something, I can just, like, pick up on it instantly. I know the next thing that's going to happen. Or even what's funny, which made me really good at sports, is that I'm very good at, like... what's the word I'm looking for here?
Somebody dekes you out?
Well, no. Anticipating where it's going to go.
Okay.
I'm like, and one thing, like playing hockey. Like, I can understand the way someone moves on the ice. Yeah. You know where the puck's going to go. You know where to position yourself.
Yeah, fair.
I just anticipate. I wouldn't say it's technically a psychic sense, maybe.
What did you play when you played hockey?
I played center. Center? Yeah.
Cool.
So I was right dead center. I was the guy just right by the goalie, man.
Boom. Well, is center? I'm a noob when it comes to hockey. Is center the guy where they drop the puck and you fucking
exactly?
That's what you do. Cool. Yeah. Well, and that makes sense with the sports thing. So that's like a bit of a visual thing too, right? Yeah. Like you're kind of good at that.
And another thing when it comes to the visual cues, specific to me, was learning how to play drums. Like I just went on YouTube watching these guys play drums, and it's not that I can hear what I can do it when I hear drums on like a track. I know what they're hitting just by listening to it. But when I see someone do it, I actually know the technique on how to do things. Yeah, okay. Just by watching it. I don't need no like music notation. I learned everything by ear and visual.
Yeah. Okay, because that makes sense. Because I mean, there's some people who do it just strictly through reading. I imagine that's even less and less nowadays. But
yeah,
it makes sense. Like, because there's more than one way to skin that fucking cat. You know, you learn it.
Another cool
ways.
thing that I was thinking about when we were talking about psychic stuff was synchronicity. Do you think that when you put like a thought out into the world, that specific thought or that specific action had a repercussion, like a karmic cash-in value that kind of came back to you in a certain way? Like when you think about someone and they end up like calling you or like messaging you. Yeah, I feel like that ties into the categories of psychic abilities, because you're right there. You're tapping into that, like, whatever you want to call it, that collective thing, that the collective soul you want that's surrounding us, or everything connects to everything, right?
Well, see, then it's like, it kind of gets to be a question, right? Because if you have a notion of that person calling you, it's like, okay, were they planning on calling you and then like didn't call you? Like, did they put that thought out in the air first, and are you picking up on it?
Yeah.
Or are you the one sending it out and then receiving it? So it's kind of a gray area like that. You don't cool really know
to think about. It could be both too. It could be just like,
well, one is bound to happen before the other. So like, it's either one or the other. Like, if you're picking up or if you're sending out. That's that. Like, I mean, I'm thinking about, we'll go shout out to Pooley, because there's that just happened recently. You know, you fucking, well, you, like, on the video, because, and this is how it happened too, because you're like,
we were watching videos the other night here.
And you just said, so a video with our friends in it, and this, like, old video from, when we were in high school. So a bunch of our friends were in it. Some friends have since moved. Some friends we don't see as much anymore. Like, that's just how life goes. But anyways, there's a clip with like 3 or 4 different guys in it, and you're like, yo, like, when's the last time you talked to him? And I was like Pooley? Oh, I talked to him like just recently. Now, but there was 4 guys on the screen, and you weren't specific. You just said, when's the last time you talked to him? Yeah. Thinking that I probably knew who you were talking about, but then you had to say, no, not Pooley, Nate Dogg. So it's kind of weird that, like, my consciousness, you could say, was picked up on the level of Pooley. And then, the next day, Pooley called me. So, I mean, I told him that on the phone. It was kind of interesting. Those things, like synchronicity, fuck, man. It depends on the level you give them, because synchronicity happens all the time. And then synchronicity can also kind of not be synchronicity, because if there's a predictable pattern, it's not really synchronicity. But, people could interpret it as synchronicity. They're lying about that. It's just a predictable pattern that happens all the time.
Or coincidence, which is...
Well, see, coincidence is like, if you want to be a moron, you say it's coincidence. If you're intelligence, it's synchronicity. Like, the more you understand... coincidence and randomness.
Because you're just going to throw that word out, like coincidence. Oh, it's just a coincidence. I feel like that's just being a little naive.
Oh, I trash that word. And same with random, man. People think that things happen randomly.
They say in occult magic that what you're learning to do is actually coincidence control. That's the word they use. And that's basically their wording of how synchronicity works. Is how
I think Jules, what they want to mean when they say coincidence control is, I believe what they want to mean is that you make your manifestations arrive quicker than, like, you diminish the latency rather than coincidence. Because, like, if coincidence control, that, like, what are you doing? Because a coincidence is kind of unexpected, but then expected in a weird way. So then you're expecting to encounter the unexpected. You're trying to control how to. This is why
this is occult magic, because they use the word, the whole, like, set it and forget it, right?
I already been fucking. Okay, well, we can hit that magic thing again, because I fucking.
Did we talk about it before?
Well, we did in the fucking one that nobody listens to, because it's on goddamn SoundCloud.
Oh, so that one.
The fucking camera fucked off. Yeah. So I'll try fucking, like, break this down hella fucking quick. Yeah.
Just real quick, I just want to show you. I gotta figure out we gotta start timing this thing, but we're getting. I think this is the longest one thus far.
Okay, well, we should probably wrap that, because if I fucking start talking about magic, we're gonna be here for like fucking 45 minutes.
Maybe the next one might be magic.
Oh fuck, I hate magic.
All right, man.
Pleasure as always.
Yeah, dude.
À la prochaine.
Sweet.
Peace.